Students, now we will do the comparison of FPTP and PR system of elections that is in front of you. Students, firstly we will cover the FPTP system. FPTP system, the country is divided into small geographical units called constituency or districts. In PR, large geographical areas are demarcated as constituencies. The entire country may be a single constituency. Second, in FPTP, every constituency elects one representative, and in PR, more than one representative may be elected from one constituency. Voter votes for the party. And in the FPTP system, voter votes for a candidate, but in PR, voter votes for the party. And in the fourth side, FPTP, a party may get more seats than votes in the legislature. But in PR, every party gets seats in the legislature in proportion to the percentage of votes that it gets. In FPTP system, candidate who wins the election may not get majority of votes. Example, we are having here UK and India. In PR system, candidates who wins the election gets majority of votes, and here we are having examples of the countries like Israel and Netherlands. Students, now we will discuss why did India adopt the FPTP system. The answer is not very difficult to guess. If you have carefully read the box explaining the Rajya Sabha elections, you would have noticed that it is a complicated system which may work in a small country but would be difficult to work in a subcontinental country like India. The reason for the popularity and success of the FPTP system is its simplicity. The entire election system is extremely simple to understand even for common voters who may have no specialized knowledge about politics and elections. There is also a clear choice presented to the voters at the time of elections. Voters have to simply endorse a candidate or a party while voting. Depending on the nature of actual politics, voter may either give greater importance to the party or to the candidate or balance the two. The FPTP system offers voters a choice not simply between parties but specific candidates also. In other electoral system, especially PR system, voters are often asked to choose a party and the representative are elected on the basis of party list. As a result, there is no one representative who represent and is responsible for one locality. In a constituency based system like the FPTP, the voters know who their own representative is and can hold him or her accountable. More importantly, the makers of our constitution also felt that PR based election may not be suitable for giving a stable government in a particularly system like a parliamentary system we are having. We shall study the nature of parliamentary system of executive in the next chapter. This system requires the executive has majority in the legislature. You will notice that the PR system may not produce a clear majority because seats in the legislature would be divided on the basis of share of votes. The FPTP system generally gives the largest party or coalition some extra bonus seats more than their share of votes would allow. Thus, this system makes it possible for parliamentary government to function smoothly and effectively by facilitating the formation of a stable government. Finally, the FPTP system encouraged the voters from different social groups to come together to win an election in a locality. In a diverse country like India, a PR system would encourage each community to form its own nationwide party. This may also have been at the back of the mind of our constitution makers. The experience of the working of the constitution has confirmed the expectation of the constitution makers. The FPTP system has proved to be simple and familiar to ordinary voters. It has helped larger parties to win clear majorities at the center and at the state level. The system has also discouraged political parties that get all their votes only from one caste or community. Normally, the working of the FPTP system results in a two-party system. This means that there are two major competitors for power, and power is often shared by these two parties alternately. It is difficult for new parties or the third party to enter the competition and share power. In this respect, the experience of FPTP in India is slightly different. After independence, though we adopted the FPTP system, there emerged a one-party dominance, and along with it, there existed many smaller parties. After 1989, India is witnessing the functioning of the multi-party coalitions. At the same time, gradually in many states, a two-party competition is emerging. But the distinguishing feature of India's party system is that the rise of coalition has made it possible for new and smaller parties to enter into electoral competition in spite of the FPTP system. Students, we have also noticed that in the FPTP system, the candidate who secures the highest votes in a particular constituency is declared elected. This often works to the disadvantages of the smaller social groups. This is even more significant in the Indian social context. We have had a history of caste-based discrimination. In such a social system, the FPTP electoral system can mean that the dominant social groups and castes can win everywhere, and the oppressed social groups may continue to remain unrepresented. Our constitution makers were aware of this difficulty and the need to provide a way to ensure fair and just representation to the oppressed social groups. This issue was debated even before independence, and the British government had introduced separate electorate. This system meant that for electing a representative from a particular community, only those voters would be eligible who belong to that community. In the Constituent Assembly, many members expressed a fear that this will not suit for purposes. So therefore, it was decided to adopt the system of reserved constituencies. In this system, all voters in a constituency are eligible to vote, but the candidate must belong to only a particular community or social section for which the seat is reserved. There are certain social groups which may be spread across the country. In a particular constituency, their members may not be sufficient to be able to influence the victory of a confidable or candidate. However, taken across the country, they are a significantly sizable group. To ensure their proper representation, a system of reservation becomes necessary. So, the Constitution provides for reservation of seats in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. This provision was made initially for a period of 10 years, and as a result of successive constitutional amendments has been extended up to 2020. The Parliament can take a decision to further extend it when the period of reservation expires. The number of seats reserved for both of these groups is in proportion to the share in population of India. Of the 543 elected seats in the Lok Sabha, 84 are reserved or scheduled castes and 47 are reserved for scheduled tribes. Students, here the question arises: who decides which constituency is not to be reserved or is to be reserved? On what basis is this decision taken? This decision is taken by an independent body called Delimitation Commission. The Delimitation Commission is appointed by the President of India and works in the collaboration with the Election Commission of India. It is appointed for the purpose of drawing up the boundaries of constituency all over the country. A quota of constituencies to be reserved in each state and is fixed depending on proportion of SC or ST in that state. After drawing the boundaries, the Delimitation Commission looks at the composition of population in each constituency. Those constituencies that have the highest portion of scheduled tribes population are reserved for ST. In the case of scheduled castes, the Delimitation Commission looks at two things. It picks constituencies that have higher proportion of scheduled castes population, but it also spreads these constituencies in different regions of the state. This is done because the scheduled caste population is generally spread evenly throughout the country. These reserved constituency can be rotated each time the delimitation exercise is undertaken. The Constitution does not make similar reservation for other disadvantaged groups. Of late, there has been a strong demand for seeking reservation of seats in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies for women. Given the fact that very few women are elected to representative bodies, the demand for reserving 1/3 seats for women is increasingly being articulated. Reservation of seats for women has been provided for in rural and urban local bodies. We shall discuss this in our next chapters, and a similar provision for Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha would require an amendment to the Constitution. Such an amendment has been proposed several times in the Parliament but has not yet been passed. Students, next topic we will cover in our third video. Thank you.